We're gonna put that on the video.
No,
we're gonna get a mullet on Danny somehow. Hey everyone, and welcome back to CJRaceCars YouTube channel. I know everybody's been wanting to see the power adder on Eagle, and as you can tell from the title of this video, it's getting turbos, and they're absolutely massive. They're twin 98mm turbos, which will make 5,000 horsepower with this MH7 Proline Hemi. So we're gonna work on getting them mocked up in this video, and hopefully they fit, because like I said, they're massive, and there's not a lot of room in this car. So we're getting ready to try to mount these 98s, and they're huge, so there's not a whole lot of space over here. But before we start, I wanted to show you guys the collectors and elbows we got. I mean, these things are absolutely killer. It's a stainless tight radius elbow. So basically this will go from the collector, which is also a billet, super nice piece, and right to the turbo. So obviously we need to save a bunch of room, and this will help because it's so tight and it's billet. It's awesome looking. It's got the right flange for the precision wastegates. Awesome piece. I mean, definitely Cletus has got all the right stuff on this build, that's for sure. Didn't spare in any department, as you can see from the rear end and everything else we've got. This is top of the line stuff. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put the door on. Basically that's an extension of the front end, how wide the body is. We put the door on, that'll show us how far out we can push the turbo and still have room. And just trying to maximize the space, make sure we can get the exhaust out of the turbo without having an issue. We also lost a little bit of room in the footbox area with bending a firewall out because Cletus is tall, as you saw in other videos. So it'll be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll make it work.
Access to the valves and everything for adjustment.
No, can't do that. But also this is going to be the highest it's ever going to be, so as it goes down it's going to come away, and that center, the tire gets smaller as it goes up.
Yeah.
We really just need to put a tire up there. You have a set of struts if you want to put one in there and put that thing where it holds it straight and then put the wheel on that strut. You can do that. And then we'll kind of have an idea. Maybe that's the best thing to do. I just don't want to...
Yeah, just
we need to make sure we have room. I think we could still go up. Like we could probably still go up a little bit.
I agree.
Then we could maybe...
Well,
a little bit.
You might not be able to go up.
Why?
Rotate that compressor housing.
That's where it goes.
And just straight down?
Well, yeah, I'm hoping we're going to go like through here. And then through both of them up in there. That's what I'm hoping.
And then this is just somewhere...
Yeah, I don't know on that yet.
None of that's been figured out yet.
Just for giggles. Put the... cut that off. You got it marked good, right?
Yeah, I can
cut that off, put a wheel, because wherever this is, that's the edge of the tire. We just need to look. Put a tire up there, we'll put one there and one here, and we'll see what it looks like.
I'm not gonna lie, the fog light holes with turbos would be nice.
And being that it's gonna be radial, it would not hurt it at all.
No.
So, be totally fine with it.
My only concern anytime you gotta mount the turbos that low is the oil control back to the fan, which we'll cross that bridge if we have to.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. I mean, some kind of little tank and a pump to pump it back, it's not that big a deal. When they're up higher, gravity is your friend. It just keeps it simple. It don't have to be that simple.
We'd probably be all right there.
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the wheel's never going to go much higher than that. I don't think. So
no.
You got, you know.
Yeah, but that's it. Right as it goes back, it's gonna roll a little bit back. Off center.
But can you put a strut in there with your washer deal so it doesn't pivot?
Probably.
You know what I'm saying? Then we'll just
give me.
No, you're good.
10 or 15
yeah,
minutes.
do that.
I'll have it in.
Let's do that. I'd rather double check, make sure we're 100% good.
We're trying to decide where the turbo's gonna live. There's a lot of factors going on because the tires clearly have to, the suspension has to work. That's kind of important. At the same time, we got to be able to get the exhaust out. We need to get the boosted air into the intake. We have to be able to get the headers built in such a way. Fortunately, this being a Hemi, we don't have to deal with getting the spark plugs like you would on a LS or a big block or any conventional style engine. So that we don't have to deal with. Another factor is being able to get this valve cover off easily and be able to service the engine, as well as being able to pop the head off, because these engines are designed to be reasonably simple to service, wherein you undo all the bolts for the head and it lifts out. You don't have to take, like a conventional big block or small block, you have to take the intake off and get all that stuff out of the way to deal with it. This can all be done right through the head. Pull all your valve train out, pull all your push rods out, undo all your bolts, and it lifts right out. Because the way it's designed at a 2-degree angle, as it comes in, it just locks in. So that works out really well. Landing them back here makes the headers really short. Doesn't really make the cold side piping any shorter. It also gives us the advantage of having gravity working on our side to help the oil get back to the oil pan. However, mounting them up front on a small tire car isn't a bad option either, because it puts the weight, that helps with the actual weight bias of the car, having that weight on the nose. But then you're dealing with a header and a hot side piping to get to the turbo. Like I said, the cold side piping is going to be very similar. But you also have to deal with gravity and the fact that now your oil is coming out of the bottom of the turbo at about the same depth as it is in the oil pan. So it's not going to just feed naturally. We're going to have to probably set up some kind of like a reclamation tank, like a puke tank, so to speak, and then run a pump from there back into the oil pan. So it complicates things on one hand. There's advantages and disadvantages to doing it either way. So we're trying to explore this way first before we go to there.
I don't see it.
Well, you gotta spin. Is it spinning both of them?
No, it's just spinning the one.
There you go. There you go. Hang on, I gotta come up.
Here we go.
Sheesh. Woo, goodness, that's it. I'm done for the day. Maybe for the week.
We're just a hair low from my mark, but
that's close, huh?
that'll be fine.
What?
Nothing.
You yelling at me again, Troy? He yells at me all the time. It really hurts my feelings. I mean, you still got room there.
Oh yeah, no, that looks.
Which I don't even think it's gonna turn that far.
That looks mint.
Danny, what's the stroke on that rack, do you know?
I'm not real sure.
Check.
Let's go find it here. Grab that rack right there.
That way we can just turn it, we can see, make sure we got enough. Because it may not turn, I don't think it's gonna turn much more than that. If it does, we could probably scoot it. We probably don't want it on top of that, but I want to make sure we got enough room for this 5-inch deal back here.
2 and about a 16th.
Call it 2. Because I was pushing it and
Yeah.
sprung back. 2 inches, it moves 2 inches out before it locks.
Okay.
So you got a 4-inch deal.
Right there. Roughly.
That's with the tie rod straight. Because this tie rod's going to be on an angle, which means it's even less.
Well, that's, yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, you're less. It wouldn't even go that far.
I'd rather compensate for more and not have it.
Yeah, the rack's always in front. So that's it. So if you moved it 2 inches just then, with the rack moving 2 inches, it'll move.
Oh, you did it already?
Like an inch and 3/4.
just let it go. And he's saying this side will never go that far.
Well, because of the rack being forward of this, if the
Right,
rack was
yeah,
dead
yeah,
in
yeah,
line with
right.
this, 2 inches
Correct.
of rack will equal 2 inches
That's what I'm
of
saying, it's
movement.
not going to go as far as you.
No, it'll be like an inch and 3/4 instead of 2 inches roughly.
Which means at this point we can go forward with it.
I think we want to go up still. I think we want to be close as we can to that.
you could put
I mean, we don't want it to hit, but I would put, I mean, I think we can go up another 3/8
that and
probably.
the 2.
Anything we can gain above the tire, anything past the center of the tire is going to gain us room.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I have to run 5-inch tubing through where I don't have room for 5-inch tubing. Cheating the cut a little bit so that this started out as a 90. As you can see now, I'm over 90. So basically what I'm doing is a pie cut. Not like a traditional pie cut. I'm using an actual elbow. So what I'm going to do is cut another one here and another one, and hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit over 90 in half the space it would take for a normal 5-inch 90. Just kind of condense my bend, tighten it up a lot. Just rough guidelines, something to go by. You can see I'm not cheating a whole bunch. I'm just tightening up this bend more than it is, or more than the machine can make it. It's similar to the pie cuts you see on everybody else's exhaust, except they do it with straight tubing. I like as few joints as possible in something like this, but depending on the circumstances, there's no way around it on this particular application. Just for the fact that we're really trying to put a really large size tubing in a very small spot. Basically what started out as a 90, as you can see, is way over 90, and it's still a smooth transition. Basically the effect we're going for. It's not lined up exactly perfect, but kind of get the gist of it.
By the time you cheat this a little bit, you're almost on the inside of that tube,
yeah.
Which is super ideal.
Yeah, and as you can see, I left one leg long so that we can get down past it.
Once we get to the bottom, we're gonna have to lean it in a little bit, so when we do our bend here, we can put a V-bend. We need to get this downpipe back straight before it comes out the fender, because we have to put a V-band on the inside of the fender, and then on the outside we'll have a little bullhorn, like either a 45 or 90 degree bend that you could swivel and remove to get in and out of the trailer, or whatever you want to do. So we'll show that more as it's going on. So basically the problem we're having here is the turbo's extremely massive to begin with. You have the tire clearance you have to fight with here, which we'll show that a little more. Danny's finishing the control arm so the front suspension will be complete. We'll stick the tire back on so we could turn it. But we have to get this downpipe out of the car in this little bit of distance. So it has to come down and then back out without hitting this door. Obviously the door's gonna swing in a little bit, so that's the biggest reason we're having to do those pie cuts. Basically try to get that thing as close this way as we can to clear the door. And I think we can do it. The other option would be to put the turbos up front. Not really what I want to do. So somehow Troy's gonna make this work. As you can see, we found a final resting place for these insanely massive turbos that it needs to make 5,000 horsepower. We got just a little bit of clearance. We got the wheel and tire all the way up, so that's the farthest it would ever go up. And it's turned as far as it'll ever go, and it still has clearance. So we're good on clearance. And Danny's got one mount here done, tapped together, and we got another mount going in on the inside. So basically it'll have these two spuds and tubes mounted here, a spud in the back and a tube mounted here. And that should make it pretty solid. And then we'll be able to take this fixture off and start working on the downpipe like you saw Troy cutting that with the pie cuts, because with the limited room we have to get as tight as possible and get it back out the fender here. Really happy with it. We got enough room to get the valve cover off, the head off if they need to swap a head. It doesn't look like there's a lot of room, but it'll work. The header's gonna be a little tight, but pretty happy with it. Danny's gonna finish this mount now. And then we'll also have him explain to you the front suspension. We didn't get a lot of video on us actually building the front suspension because been filming a lot of stuff on the go-kart with a Hayabusa engine. If you guys haven't seen that, maybe go check that out. Pretty cool build. Got a few guys doing that. So we missed a little bit of the fab stuff on the front suspension, but we'll still have Danny touch on that. Just like the rear suspension, the front suspension is also all titanium. Tie rods, lower control arms, etc. Just part of making this car as light as we can possibly make it. At the end of the day, the lighter, the faster, the more weight we can move around and make the car work on different track conditions, etc. So now that we got this mounted, we're gonna Danny's pretty much gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. One thing about the other side is that this car has a 2-inch stagger, which we've mentioned in a video. So basically the driver's side wheel is 2 inches farther forward. What we'll do is we'll mount the turbo in the exact same place on the other side, which will make this tight, but we will have 2 inches more room up front. So that'll be our next step, and then we'll be going right into building these headers and hopefully have something that looks like a completed hot side here pretty soon. Let's talk to Danny about the front suspension and maybe he can explain some stuff.
Yeah, when we set up the lower control arm, we determined this angle based off of where our mounting point is up here to the frame rail. This one happens to be around 10 degrees, but this mount can roll up, roll down. Some cars have it even up here. We set it up so that when the strut's fully extended, this is relatively level with the ground. That way you have the least amount of camber change on the strut during the stroke. So once we determine where this is going to roll at here, we tack it in place, and then we make this strut rod here. This one happens to be, the actual tube is like 16 inches. We run it up quite a ways. The longer, the more stability you have versus it being back here somewhere where it's not spread as much. The more you spread it, the more strength you have. So we do the same thing up here. We locate this the same height off of the jig as this bolt is, so they're right in line. And that's basically how we set up the control arms.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how the front suspension goes. These are something we make in-house. So we've had a few different versions of these front control arms. Lately, a lot of people want to go with a longer stroke. Back in the day, like a 2.5 inch or 3 inch strut was all you had. And at ride height, you have 1 inch of shafts showing. So really, the suspension only moved down about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Now everybody's got 4.5 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch stroke shocks or struts. So we came up with a different design here that has a little more angularity without binding up. The older style stuff we had would work, but it had to be absolutely perfect or else it would bind up or down. So we changed that a little bit, and pretty much that's it works great now. Now it'll work with struts that don't have a lot of travel and struts that do have a lot of travel. And again, this is all titanium, so super lightweight. It's about half the weight, 40% less than chromoly. And when you're building something like this, if you can save, you know, a couple pounds here, a couple pounds there, it adds up probably 80 or 100 pounds at the end of the build just in titanium. So now that the suspension's done, we're getting close to a roller. We got all the 4-link stuff done, which you guys saw in the last video on this car. And really, we're waiting on end bells for the rear end, which I think are gonna be here this week. If we get these headers done, we can put it on the ground and roll it around, push around in the parking lot.
It's getting closer.
We could put Danny in it and push him around in the parking lot with the Hayabusa golf cart. That's a good idea. We could put a fan on Danny, blow it in his hair. Just the hair just flapping in the wind there, and just
Hair?
well,
What hair?
It's up there.
Yeah, it's there. It is what it is.
Mine's all gray, so don't feel bad. It happens. That's why I keep it cut.
Mine's getting grayer by the day.
Everybody on the comments always says I must get a haircut once a week, but I have to, or else it looks really gray. If I keep it short, you can't tell as bad.
Somebody said I needed to grow a mullet.
Oh, you would? That would be
really?
killer. That's what you should do.
With what?
You should do. You could get a weave or hair extensions. It's a good idea.
Never gonna happen.
Danny with a mullet. That'd be
Never
killer for sure.
gonna happen. I never had one back in the day.
No?
No.
Well, it's not too late.
Oh yeah, that ship sailed a long time.
Nobody on here knows Danny like we do. But if you've seen Danny out with a snakeskin boots and these big, he's got these Elton John red lens glasses and a mullet, that would finish it off. We have got to get Danny a mullet. Whoever said that comment, that's a good idea. We're going to send you a free shirt.
Let's clear up one thing. The boots are not country, they're rock and roll.
Snakeskin rock and roll mullet. We're gonna do it. That's a deal. We're gonna put that on the video.
No,
we're gonna get a mullet on Danny somehow.
Not happening.
We're gonna just pin a mullet on Danny. That's what we're gonna do.
No. Almost. Oh yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for today's episode. As you can see, this turbo is mounted and hanging under its own power. Danny's got this mount done. Moved over to the other side. He's got that one pretty much fixtured up, starting that mount. We will have another update on Friday, as we should have that turbo mounted and some headers started. This thing's really starting to come together. I mean, you stand back, this thing actually looks like a car. It's getting really exciting. This is where the build's starting to really take shape and get you excited. And it's a good thing it's excited, because we only got about 40 days or so, 30 days worth of fabrication left. And then we got paint, wiring, plumbing, assembly. So we got a lot of stuff to do in the next 2 months to get this thing done. And let us know what you guys think. But we thought about here in the last 30 days of fabrication and some assembly stuff, there's gonna be a lot of moving parts getting this thing together. And we thought about doing more vlog style stuff, maybe 3 times a week just on this car, so you guys can see a day-to-day update on what's going on. If you guys want that, let us know in the comments, and we'll try our best to get it to you. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.